Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Northern Showcase. We look forward to spending the next hour with you. I'm Penny Olorenshaw, a former stage manager, now a Webflow developer in Trenton, Ontario, and I handle communications for No Code North.
Hey, I'm Maggie Monso. I'm a Webflow developer based in Toronto with a background in film and television. In our No Code North group, I take care of our designs and our gather space.
And I'm Jeremy LaRue, a visual developer from Vancouver and the creator of Country Everywhere, a directory and community hub for BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and disabled folks in country music. On the No Code North team, I'm the resident automations guy and stream runner. Our mission at No Code North is twofold. First, to build a community of Canadian Webflowers, no-code enthusiasts, and second, to showcase Canadian talent to the rest of the world. We host workshops, demos, and panel discussions on Fridays at noon Eastern in the Lodge, our gather space. And once a month, we host the Northern Showcase here on our YouTube channel. So let's take a look and see who's out there in YouTube land. Yeah. Wow, we've got quite the group this morning. Hi, Nimesh and Dale and Keith and Nancy, Patrick, and Chris Miller is joining us. So thanks, everyone, for joining us today.
Yeah.
Nimesh's a keener. There's some people who are here super early today, which is
if you have questions for our guest, please put them in the chat, and we'll ask them either during the interview or at the end. So, you UX designer first. Our guest wore many hats over the past few years. Co-founder of the Relume Design League, founder of the Digital Third, and more recently, the host of Webflow's YouTube Livestream. His vast involvement in the Webflow community makes him a ubiquitous figure in the space. Please help us welcome Josh Lowe to the Northern Showcase.
Hey, Josh.
Hello. Hello. Wow. Thank you for the applause. It is an absolute honor to be here.
You have to love a guest who comes with his own sound effects. I mean, you've raised the bar for everybody
someone
now.
Who applauses himself. It's pretty pretentious. I'm gonna raise the standard of cockiness in today's stream. What's up, everyone? So good to be here.
That's great. That's awesome.
It's exciting. So we've known you for a few years now.
Yeah.
Since, and I know that Maggie's getting.
2022?
Yeah, it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
So, and I know Maggie's going to get into lots of questions here for you. I think let's just get underway.
Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
We'll pop out and we'll let Maggie take over, and we'll see you in a bit.
Super excited.
Skip to the band.
Well, I do want to say hi to the people. We got Nelson in the house. What's going on? And we got some locals, Nancy, Keith. What's up? All the way in Edmonton. And thank you for showing up. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting. So I was kind of wondering about that because it's Thanksgiving in the States.
Yeah.
So to our American friends, happy Thanksgiving. It also known in Canada as the week that we get to do a lot of work, and we're super productive because Slack is so quiet. But was also wondering if we'd have a bunch of people or everyone would be working with their, working on their turkey. But no, thank you so much for coming, everyone in the chat. So I was prepping this interview, and there's so much material out there. Could definitely fit in a 2-hour interview. So we'll cap it at 1. We'll try to cap it at 1. But you're one of the few guests that are so active in the community that it could almost just all be about community. I have a ton of questions about how you define yourself, how you find focus, how your experience with community. And I want to start this interview straight into all the community stuff. And I know that's not your main job, but because so many people know you as that, I just kind of want to dive into it. I was wondering if you could start with talking about one of the first communities that you're really known for, or I might be wrong on that, but I feel like I knew you the most from when you started working with Relume, collaborating with them on the Relume Rumble. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about how they reached out to you, how that came about, and your experience there.
Yeah. Okay. The story of how I got involved with Relume. Let me take a look back in the past. It all started in 2022, and I can share more of what I've done beforehand. I was doing a lot of contracting and product design, and then just doing some website gigs here and there. But in 2022, I joined Twitter in February for the first time, and then shortly after, found out about Flow Party. Melissa's thing, and she brought on Relume probably like a month ago. And so I watched a recording of Adam just showing, the product, and I was just blown away because at that time I was already designing, putting together design systems for a startup I was working at. So for me, like a whole component library, it's all like design systems. I was nerding out. And so I saw Adam post on Twitter, oh, we're expanding our team. We're trying to find a product designer to expand the library. So I cold DM'd him and just reached out for the opportunity. And so, and right away, I just wanted to catch his attention. So I recorded a video, and I find that's like the best way to get like cold DM anyone is to shoot an engaging video. So I got his attention. We hopped on a meeting, and then I pitched him two things. The first was what he asked, like for the product design role. And then the second pitch, that idea was to do live stream. I'm like, hey, look, I think I can create some really interesting content for you for Relume. And so he was more interested in that, actually. So, and yeah, basically they tried me on. I said, look, let's just do 4 trial live streams, and we'll just see if it works out. And the rest is history. And that's kind of how I got involved with the team.
Yeah, that's how a lot of us know you. And how did you make it so fun? I feel like it was so engaging. Like, what do you do differently? How do you, everything you do usually becomes extremely engaging. So what was your process there?
Yeah, so rewind 2 years before, during the pandemic, right? I picked up two skill sets. A buddy of mine reached out to me and asked me to produce a podcast. So I've never done that before, but he just thought I was the techie guy. So I picked that up, and I learned how to interview, and just, playing around with basic audio equipments and things like that. And then the second skill set was live streaming. And so, because at the pandemic, all churches, I was helping out with my church, they're all live streaming their services. And so I picked up that skill. So combining those two, I'm like, huh. And I was watching this Ecamm Live. So that's the software, it's the program that I use for live streaming. They would show all these different formats and people putting on different live stream shows with different overlays. So exactly what you have right now. And so I got all these ideas. I'm like, oh my goodness, you could do really cool, fun stuff. So prior to me joining Relume, I actually created my own design community called Collab Collective. Oh man, so it's so embarrassing. Let's see if I can find it. I can show you like the early days.
I missed that one. I had Juice Labs.
Yeah, so Juice Labs was, I mean, I could rewind it furthermore, but basically I changed careers. Okay, I guess I'll show you this real quick. So yeah, this is like my early live streaming days.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Yeah, and so I brought on, I mean, this is great. If you guys know Grace Link, she is phenomenal. And so I met her way back when. And so these are just like, online UX designers, and I was already practicing the interviewing skills. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started, and this is what I showed Relume, and they were interested in that, and so I just reformatted it. By the way, I just wanna show, this is the episode where we brought you on, and so this is a very full circle moment. It was really cool
That's funny.
that I interviewed you, and now you're interviewing me.
But I had done that, and that might have been maybe my first live interview ever.
Yeah. You did great. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel like we could pick up a thing or two from your interviewing style. Everything you do is like, yeah, we're getting there, but still some room for improvement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so my thing is, I think, like you said, it's fun. That's the main ingredient. And so I recently started the Digital Third. It's about creating a third space, having a third place mindset, which I can get into, and like a third culture, right? And so that's kind of where that name comes from, is the digital third. And basically, I want it to be a brand of play. And you just look at what I've done with Relume Design League, and it's like, you know, these esport battles. It's all about like making design playful and coming back to that like childhood space of just having fun collaborating. So I think, okay, and yeah, this is what we've done with the arena, and so super proud of this because yeah, I mean, I was able to bring on McGuire and Greamer back together, and Nelson all in the same room, and yeah, it was just so amazing. So obviously, I've evolved and leveled up my production quality, but again, the same tenets still apply. It's just having fun, you know, scrutinizing people, putting them under pressure.
Yeah,
so.
and it feels like that's like the mature version of what you've done before with Collab Collective and the Relume Rumble and everything. So Collab Collective was before 2022, like it was before or during the pandemic that you started that one and then send that over.
Correct.
To
Yeah.
Relume? Okay.
Yeah, that was okay. So sorry, I think I only see me right now, but all good. So okay, let me rewind a bit. So 2018, that's when I basically left my career, my career in engineering, right? And then I took a gap year and I was traveling around, and then I found out about a UX boot camp. And so I took that, and that was my transition into tech. And I found out about like Webflow through Flux Academy, Ran Segal, and discovered the future and things like that. And so I didn't know anything about, you know, digital design and product design and stuff like that. And so I've always loved creating events, and I'm a natural extrovert. So I started this local design community here in Vancouver called Juice Labs. And so it was just, I think they were monthly meetings. And so I would just bring in local experts, industry experts to have a talk. Let's see if
In person.
In person.
Okay, in person.
Correct. Yeah. So let me, if you see my screen here, let's see. Yeah. So this was like the boot camp that I was part of. And so
cool. That's the original one.
Yeah.
We're gonna put the timeline together now.
Yeah, so I mean, I would just host talks, there's registrations, and then they would just have meetings and things like that, discussion groups.
How many people would you have at those?
Probably like 30 or so.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is early days, but yeah, I would just bring in like speakers and talk about freelancing or whatever, communications. This is my olds, by the way. Hey, this is so funny. This is based on a template. I don't know if you guys recognize, this is a very old template, and I haven't even designed and updated it in like 3 years. So talk about portfolios, right? Like, yeah,
I know everyone's first website is based on a template, I feel like.
Yeah, and I haven't updated it since. Very shameful. But so I started Juice Labs to learn from other people, and so then the pandemic happened, and then I transitioned that format into a digital live stream space. So I was doing some interviews, and then again, I'm like, okay, well, and then that's when Collab Collective happened, and that was like 2020, and it lasted like a year and a bit. And then what really made all the difference, because I was just operating in the local area in Vancouver, is when I joined Twitter in 2022, and that changed everything because it exposed me to the global community. And I would say, for any advice, like new people coming in, just get involved in a global community as soon as possible.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I actually remember when you joined Twitter. I don't know why. It was I feel like the Webflow community was still fairly small, and the Twitter Webflow community was really tight because of that. And I remember you coming in and saying like, "Hey, I just got on board. Can you add me?" And then all of a sudden, you had like very quickly a lot of people following you, and then and then that was kind of a good base to start getting involved with Relume after that. Okay, so then Relume 2022.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Going through the timeline here. So I had those 4 initial live streams, right? The first episode was just to introduce the team. Second episode was to talk about world-class websites. The third, again, we were testing different content pillars. The third was about like business. I think we had Keith, and shout out to Keith, you're watching, and Thor from, I forgot, Snow something studio. My bad. But yeah, we talked about like pricing and agency work. And then the fourth one was the Relume Rumble. That was the first battle against Adam and Caleb versus Eric Odom and Melissa Mendez. And so actually it was Eric and Caleb going head to head, and then Adam and Melissa were like coaches. But yeah, that's what started it. And how that idea started was I had a larger vision. So 2020, everyone they were having a hard time finding jobs. And I wanted a way to help train designers online. And so I thought, okay, what's a fun way to engage people? Let's just start with this Iron Chef battle, right? And, I think I was inspired by Nelson and Speed Build Challenge as well, right? But obviously what we've done was in Figma, and that happened to work out well. So again, that was the idea. And I think one thing I'll always be grateful to Adam and Dan from Relume is they believed in my crazy ideas. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. And so I've always just given credit to just people who have believed in me, invested in my ideas, and was able to bring it to life. So that blew up. And then we're like, okay, there's something to this. So we decided to do a first tournament. And that was I think 4-match tournament. And that's when we brought on Fonsmans. We tried to grab big names. And then Sergey Stanchev, he won that. But yeah, we had, who was it? Kika from Flow Ninja and Benton. So that made it really well. And then we decided to do a second iteration. That was in March 2023, and that was like the 8-man tournament with like, let's see here. Let me bring this up here. So yeah, that's basically how it came together. This was the recent match with Nicolo Miranda. We had like Tommy Joko, we had Dan Mall. So we were just so grateful for, all the people who participated, because it worked out really well.
Yeah, and it's just I think about that a lot when I think about community. Sometimes you need a combination of very specific things to make a community work really well, and I find some of those elements are if you pick the right, like for something like that, you have to pick the right guest to come in and compete, but you also have to have someone who knows branding enough to make it look good, to attract as many people as possible. So there's a few things about community. The core of the project has to be good. And you just had it all there. You had an amazing idea. You were able to attract the right people to compete. You made it look amazing. Did you do all the design work on that?
No. Well, in the first tournament, I did. And obviously Adam helped out. And then the second one, we had the whole team like come in. So shout out to Jonathan Nathan. He put together the assets and everything in Figma. And so we all collaborated together and came up with the themes and things like that. So that was definitely a good team effort. I was taking care of all the live stream production. And the hosting and bringing on sponsors and things like that. Well, no, Dan helped out with sponsors. But in terms of marketing, like Relume took care of most of that. So that really helped me with everything. And then when I redid it again with the arena, I took on like 80% of that. And the remaining was Friends Agency. So they helped out with marketing. It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Community is a lot of work, and this aspect of it is something that people don't talk about a lot, is that brand recognition. Weirdly, like, it's actually really important, because when you're marketing to people, people have to recognize you to look into your stuff. So to do community properly, you either have to have a lot of time or have a big team or have money. And you can, yeah, if you don't have those last two, you have to have the time. There are some communities that work really well and don't have all these things, but it's time consuming.
Yeah. Community is definitely a long-term play. I would say it's an investment into the brand for sure. It doesn't pay out dividends in the short term. It's definitely more in the long term. So, but I'm a full believer in it. You know, I think if you can actually have people to follow you, that's a huge vote of confidence towards like what you're doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about what happened? Do you want to tell us a bit about the transition out of that? Because then you stopped working and collaborating with them. What happened there?
Yeah, I think they saw, what I was doing. I think I'll just be transparent. I was looking, because I was on contract, and so I was looking for increase in pay and things like that. And we're just evaluating, okay, what should we do in the future? They just released they were about to release the AI site builder. So I think they were working towards just, putting more resources into the product. And so we just parted ways amicably. And that was in March 2023. Last year. And then I'm like, okay, well, I think I have so many other ideas that I want to do. And so I just decided to brand and start the Digital Third. So that was my play on just a new design community brand. So that's what I did. I spent the rest of the year branding that, and I was planning out like more tournaments and all these different variations, and even the Squid Games idea that I was recently sharing. That I've been thinking about that like over a year. So I was about to launch all of that, and then a few months later, Emily Linetto reached out to me and saying, hey, we might be interested in having you help out with the speed build challenge. That was kind of like how she hooked me in first. And then conversations evolved, and then it ended up me being working full-time for Webflow. So I couldn't pass that up. So I started this year. And so for those who don't know, I no longer work at Webflow, sadly, because it's been a series of like ups and downs.
Roller coaster, right?
Yeah, because in July that I don't know if you guys all noticed, they did a restructuring. That's when Webflow, they changed CEOs to Linda, and they had a new CFO, and just a lot of changes, and they had a strategic restructuring, and I was affected. So then I saw that as a sign. I respected her decision. Totally cool. It's a business, and I still love them. And so I'm like, well, you know what? Nothing else I could do. Like, I just got to move on. And I just decided to pick up the Digital Third and continue. The downside to that is I lost a lot of momentum because I was picking up quite a bit of steam. But anyways, here we are. So we were about to launch the speed build challenge, and obviously they couldn't quite do it without me because I did most of the organizing and planning. So I asked them, hey, can we rebrand it and put it under the community and put it under Digital Third? And so I was lucky enough for them to agree to it, and so that's what happened. And so this is the website.
That looks incredible. What was their plan otherwise? Like, would they just have killed the project? No.
There were a few options. I think they would have kept it. But again, I think I had all the ideas of how it would go and everything, and so it just made most sense that I would, be behind running it and producing it and everything. So yeah. So that was what kicked off the Digital Third, and now I have a few interviews lined up. But yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. All right. So is there? How about last community, and then we're moving on to more design stuff. But how about flow walkers? Because there isn't one community that you haven't collaborated with somehow. So flow walker.
Yeah, I have all these ideas. Like, okay, Okay, the thing about me is I love creating environments. I love creating experiences, right? I think if anything, if I was to accurately describe myself, I'm more of like an experience designer, I suppose. Because even what I do with, these live streams, it's to create a feeling, a vibe, a good experience for people. And so I wanted to, we're all sitting in our desks, it's very sedentary lifestyle. And I think it was the start of 2023. I New Year's Day, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna set a goal. I actually followed through on New Year's resolution. Is just to wake up early because I was a new father, and just trying to wake up early, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 to 7. That's kind of like my sacred time, and I could just have my quiet time, or I could work or do whatever. So that was my thing, is just walking early. And so when I think I started Flow Walkers in June. And it was just going on Twitter, X, and opening up a space. And I'm saying, hey, I started with a few guys, Josh, who else? Anthony. I'm trying to remember.
Nelson?
Nelson joined later, actually, like probably 2 or 3 months later. But yeah, he ended up basically taking over and leading it. But it was just a good way for people to show up and be accountable to walk. And so that's where the name comes from, is Flow Walkers. And we would talk about anything like, yeah, Webflow stuff. But I personally was more into personal development and like, habits, creating healthy habits. So it was a cool thing. You got to experience the cool morning air before the sun rises, and then you have buddies to talk with. I think that was a really cool experience.
Do people have to be walking while listening to or participating in Flow Walker? Because the few times that I've listened in,
Yeah.
I'm just at my desk.
Yeah, no, that was the premise. Of course, we can't force people to walk, but that we always encourage people to walk. I would say majority people would just like listen in from their desk because, different time zones, people from London are coming in during their lunch break. So
Yeah. And that one is every day, right? So that's why you have to have the rotation of hosts.
Yeah, well, we kept it consistent for over a year, and then start of this year we're saying, okay, look, like I'm tired, and I had so much change in my life. I had a second baby, and so I couldn't host it every day, and so Nelson couldn't host it, every day as well. And so we decided to divvy up hosting, and it gave people an opportunity to, public speak in a sense, in a very safe environment. And I think that was really cool. I'm all about, giving people opportunity to develop themselves. So that was a fun way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue to my last question about community. Just to wrap it up, is what's your take on all this community work, the importance of community for yourself and other people?
What's the takeaway?
Yeah.
I would say, I think I have this written down. Well, community is a really amazing way to accelerate your learning, especially if you are a social person. Then that's really good, because when you come together, you can share all resources and you save time from you figuring out yourself. And so that's what it's done for me. So not just on the learning side, but also sharing and like distributing content and things like that. It's just a great way to improve your career development overall. Keeps you accountable, and that like you're doing things along your friends as well. So it's a good, that's my take on community.
Yeah, and like, we always come back to it, but if you're new to the space, definitely get involved in the community. That's the best way, to accelerate your learning and your career, because it's a great way to network in like a way doesn't feel forced. You're not going to networking events or anything. You're just making new friends, and along the way, you might actually find a new work opportunity, or learn, or get someone to help you debug your code and stuff. So so the other thing I want to talk to you about is how do you define yourself? Because you're doing so much. You're everywhere. You turn around in this community, and here's Josh Lowe. So are you an experienced designer? Are you a UX designer? How do you design yourself? Define yourself, sorry.
Yeah, that's a good question. I am at a point where I need to reinvent myself right now, actually, because my identity. So I worked as a civil engineer for 7 years, right? And that was my identity. And then I switched careers into tech, and I just finished my 6th year into it. And I've always introduced myself as, hey, I'm a product designer, or I'm a UX designer, or I'm a web designer. Like, we all struggle with this. We have many different titles in this space because, our skill sets can apply to different mediums. But I've always shared that, like, I'm ex designer, but previously an engineer, right? And obviously now 6 years in, I can't do that anymore. It's kind of like introducing myself as hi, I'm a husband, but previously I was a single person. Like, it doesn't really make sense, right? So I'm in this journey right now of rebranding, and I'm studying branding. Um, yeah, in terms of titles, I don't know yet. I'm still refining that, to be honest. Um, However, what I can say is I'm learning to be authentic and being me. And I just released a video on the Digital Third. Um, had the huge privilege and honor to go fishing with Christo, and I interviewed him. And he's been on this message on personal branding, and his take on branding is just being authentically you, like 100%. And so I shared a little bit of who I am, what I believe in, and a big part of my life is just my faith in God. So I think, okay, how do I incorporate all these little things in this, because it just makes up who I am. So, but if I was to introduce myself professionally, I suppose I would just say I'm a product and web designer. If you want to just narrow it down to titles.
And that's where I was going to ask you a bit about your journey up to now, but we did talk about it a little bit. But I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
do a quick talk about that.
let's do it.
All right. So yeah, you did not start as a Webflow or a designer or UX designer at all. You are doing something completely different.
Yeah, like I was a designer in engineering, right?
Yeah.
So I was 4 years in the mining industry, um, working all different stuff. Like, I was living off of drill rigs, collecting like rock and soil samples, geological data and information. I was writing meteorological reports, hydrology reports. So it was a lot of different stuff. And so I think it's funny now that I reflect back. You say, like, I kind of meander all over. Yeah, like, I just have a huge plethora of different experiences. So 4 years in the mining industry, and then 3 years in high-rise residential construction. I think I have some pictures to share over
In the
here.
meantime, just bring
Yeah.
this one up. Someone else is a civil engineer turned designer developer here.
Yeah, so this is me. I did a lot of field work and traveling. Like, I was working in Alaska, and
Wow.
then I switched into the high-rise residential towers. So this is one of the fanciest buildings that we've designed. So I did like plumbing and mechanical design. But I was just in the construction space, just measuring stuff and all that. So yeah, this is in Vancouver. And so what did I learn there? I mean, I was always designing. I was making drawings on AutoCAD, blueprints and things like that. And I think that's why I have a huge love for design systems, because in engineering you have to think very systems. You have to have a systems thinking mindset. And so I think at the core of it, I've always been a designer, but I think the forms and the medium and the application has changed over time. I think the design thinking framework, which is, like, research up front, then plan, and then you design, um, you, and then you prototype and test, and you iterate. That definitely, yeah, it explains and covers, how I do things. Because it's like, you have an idea, and then you refine it and you back it up with data or research, and then you validate your idea. And so yeah, I've just done that more recently on the digital landscape than the built environment.
Reminds me of Skylar a little bit, that transformation going
Yes.
from
Yeah.
designing or building buildings to websites.
Yes. Hmm.
And is there, if you were to pick something that you would love to design the most, would it be like experiences? Would it be website? Would it be systems? Like what's the thing, if you had to do one for the rest of your life, what's the thing that you would like
Ooh,
to design?
I don't know. I feel like I'm still exploring and enjoying, but that's a good question. I think, yeah, like digital experiences. I think this is what I want to do with the digital third. And so, recently with the arena and having these design competitions, it's just so fun. And I think that's always been the consistent feedback that other people have said. And I've brought on, notable names on the roster. And I've always asked them, like, why did you say yes? And they said it's just because it sounded fun. And so I think if I can create that experience, it's like a gamified experience. I feel like I'm getting into gaming design in a sense. Um, so I don't know what title, what how would you summarize that? But yeah, experience designer, digital experience designer. Um, I think with the power of Webflow and what you can do, um, I will continue to work on that platform because you can just create so many unique experiences in that way. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where I'm
Yeah,
going.
and I mean that job might not there. It exists in some formats, but maybe the one that you're gonna, and like you might just be creating one that fits your own definition, like the one that works for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, because new tools, new ways to use them, new ways to gamify things. But yeah, that's one of the things I was curious about you, if that was part of your focus. And I want to talk about focus a little bit and challenges. And just I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I've been trying to figure out how to succeed better in my own career. And my main problem is focus. I've been scattered. I've been saying yes to everything. I've been trying all these different things, including community. I've been volunteering for a lot of different communities, and I think it's for me, it's actually been a bit detrimental. And this year has been the year to really put some goals down and think like, is this going towards that goal or not? And if not, just focus on the other things. And I think it's a bit different for you because one, you're way more successful than me, and two, everything you do it to the fullest, and everything looks amazing. While some of the things that I do, I just kind of half-ass them because I'm not as successful and I'm maybe doing too many things. So yeah, I want to talk about challenges. Mine might be focused, but yours might be something else. I know for the two of us, like family is another challenge. But yeah,
Yes.
tell me about your challenges.
Well, first off, thank you. I think you are way more talented than I am in many areas. I think I just hide it really well. Like I said, I mean, I can show you my old portfolio website. I haven't even touched that. I think I've been lucky and blessed to be connected to certain people, and so. But now, yeah, I think for me, even next year, I have to really live up to, um, supporting that reputation. So. Yeah, challenges. Let's talk about family for sure. It's been really, really hard because we both have two kids. And so I have two kids under 5. And so my capacity is like, I don't know, it's 60% of what I could do. And it's really, I mean, Pixelita,
His parent, famous Webflow
yes,
character.
she knows, and so that is like a huge challenge just to build. So I'm trying to build a brand and business while balancing raising a family, and that's why I need to wake up early in the morning. So that's kind of my thing to try to counteract that. But like my sleep is still brutal. Like even today, I failed to wake up early. Um,
And even when the babies start sleeping through the night, it's just that with kids and a family, your day kind of stops around 4:30,
yeah.
maybe,
Oh, I
because
can't.
the
It
the
stops at
hours of study.
2:30 because I have to pick up
Yeah,
my daughter at preschool now, and
yeah.
that whole thing. Yeah, it's
Your day
brutal.
is so shrunk. So what
Yeah,
people take, 10 hours to do, we
yeah.
either, I mean, you wake up at 5 a.m., that's how you do it.
Yeah, so I have basically 2 hours personal time, and I could squeeze in work early in the morning then, and then from 9 to 12, I have another 3 hours, and that's kind of like my production uh, uh, phase in the morning,
Mm.
and then basically the afternoon is just shot for me because I have like a 1 hour after lunch for I try to do some admin stuff, and then I got to pick up my daughter at 2:30. Um, so and then she's just full of energy, so it's really hard
Yeah.
to do work while she's around. um so I think the next challenge for me is establishing consistent habits, right? And so that's why I'm such a huge proponent of just, you know, having good habits, healthy habits and mindsets and things like that. And so that's some of the things I want to put on my content for my channel. um and then what's another challenge? Delivering on promises when change and disruptions occur. Um, and just like letting go with the flow, I guess. So those are kind of like the current challenges I have right now.
We have one question from Chris Miller there. When it comes to direction and figuring out your own journey or the next chapter,
Mhm.
how have you worked out what's meaningful for you while building the blueprint for your career?
Ooh, okay. How have I worked out what's meaningful? Okay. So at the end of each year, I try to do some yearly planning ahead, and I just take stock of like, you know, what worked, what didn't work in the previous year. But also I try to, like, even for me now with a family, I'm forced to think, okay, my kids are going to be entering school at this age and all this stuff. And if we want another kid, like we need more space. So it forces you to think, okay, if I'm going to have all like increase my capacity, then I need like a larger home and all that stuff. So I'm a futurist, so I just think about where am I going to be in like 3 years or 5 years, you know. So you kind of imagine yourself, and then you just reverse engineer it. Like, well, okay, um, you know, I need a bigger house, and then I need more money, I need more jobs, and all that stuff. And so, have those goals set up and reverse engineer it and break it down into, you know, actionable steps as much as possible, and then just commit to it like crazy. um I think again having like flow walkers is helpful. Like for other people, found it really helpful to have an accountability group. And so even now I'm in talks of um setting up another group to just check in weekly or monthly with other entrepreneurs or business builders to just like keep accountable, because I definitely need that. So I think putting all these support systems in place to then take action, and that's all it takes. It's like action is the thing. Like, yes, you need a plan for sure, but you just need to be in like crazy action. And I'm just so aware of the mass amount of distractions that are out there. So that's the thing I need to like hone, like, yeah, hammer down is just to get the right mindset to get in action.
And the second part of his question, like, how do you work out what's meaningful that you want to keep? Like, what's been meaningful so far that you really want to continue, like, carry on to the next chapter?
Yeah, that's good. I think meaning is related to purpose, and it it carries a lot of emotion. And so I think if you look at what impact do you want to create uh, in the community or to your local, you know, family or friends or whoever, right? Or your clients, think about that. I think it should also align to your values, because your values are something that you're willing to stand up for and actually fight for. So take some stock on values. And if you don't know, I don't know, just Google like list of values, because this is what I do on strategy and branding. Um, in companies too. Like, okay, what's your company value, right? Like, is it integrity or, you know, creativity or whatever? For me, it's I think, and I'm refining this too. My value for the digital third is to encourage people to like embrace discomfort. So, so let's say, you know, a very trending thing right now is like people doing cold plunges. It's like, that's great because it instills discipline, but it's definitely uncomfortable. So how do I incorporate all like that element into, you know, the communities and things like that, or the messaging? So embrace discomfort. Um, what's another one? I'm still trying to refine that at the moment. But I think just always looking to improve yourself, right? So I would say look into your values, and I think that'll tie into, and if you incorporate that into what you do, it'll be meaningful.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Also, like, yeah, this fall where I've been trying to find focus, I've been kind of embracing that idea that Grace Walker talks about a bunch,
Mhm.
which is just writing down the your goals
Yeah.
and always referring to it. So it could be writing down your values. She has her actual goals in a list. Anything that you do, just look back at it and say, is it taking me towards that? Is it productive
Yeah.
towards my life goals? Um,
Yeah. Can I add on to that?
yeah,
I
go.
think for goals, it's funny because at the start of this year, I was reflecting back, like, oh wow, I had the opportunity to bring on Dan Mall on the Relume Design League. That's amazing. Okay, what am I gonna do this year? I'm like, I'm gonna somehow collaborate with Christo. Like, I was just shooting my shot, right? And that was just like my internal thing. I didn't necessarily collaborate, but I ended up like fishing with him. So I was like, okay, that's close. And obviously that was like a lucky thing, but it's just sometimes wild that you just set like your intention and big goals. And I would encourage people to set a goal that almost is so big that it forces you to break molds and level up in different ways, right? Don't be too realistic. Like set a goal that's slightly above like realistic, because then that's gonna force. It's like a forcing function, and I'm just such a believer that like we all have so much potential that we'd be surprised of ourselves if. Sorry, how do I phrase this? If you push yourself deep enough and big enough, you'll be surprised at what you're capable of.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice there. Just dream big and try to make it happen. And yeah.
Yes.
So a bit of a random segue there, but I did want to talk a little bit about your design practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you have time to do anything towards your business with all the things you're already doing and on in those 3 productive hours of your day. But how many clients are you usually able to have, and what do you do for them? Is it mainly UX design, or you do full, UX, web design, art direction, then web, then development? What does your practice look like?
Yeah, I that's a good question. I was not doing client work in the last 2 years actually when I was working with Webflow and Relume, and so that yeah, that's the truth. Now I'm starting to pick it up again because that's what pays the bills.
Mm.
So what that looks like now is, again, I'm like in transition and refining all my processes. But traditionally, I would offer strategy, discovery. So it'd be offering what web design services, but it would be branding as well. So in the discovery, if they want to rebrand, we can offer a rebrand. I've partnered with right now on some projects. I'm partnered with Felixander and Bimo from Jakarta, Indonesia. Amazing guys. And so for me, I think obviously what makes it possible is to have a team, right?
Mhm.
Oh, what's up? There he is. There he is. So I mean, so
Okay.
we're gonna be releasing some. We're recording content on a really fun project for a client right now. It's a bespoke real estate company, and so we'll share our process in that. But yeah, we have like discovery, strategy, branding, and obviously the BMO is taking care of like the branding design side, and then Felixander is doing the development.
Okay.
So we're super excited for that. And so I'm just kind of project managing, and I'm bringing in the clients. And so, yeah, those are kind of the main high level service
And
offerings.
is that under? It's not under the digital third, is it? Like under
No, it's
practice?
so
Is it just
the digital third is the community brand.
yeah.
Before I even started that, I was freelancing under Core Creative, which was my like sole proprietor freelance business. Yeah.
So it's under that.
Yeah.
Yet another. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, it's just a name, right? It's like there's Eastwood Studio
Oh
or
no,
something.
actually, sorry. I've actually rebranded. That's part of the
Okay.
Focus thing.
Okay.
It's now called the Dev Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, full design coming soon. It's been a very long process, but full rebrand, and it's me, my practice. I'm not a studio. Yeah, I just want to do quality work as a freelancer and not. I'm going the other opposite way of what a lot of people do, where they pretend to be a studio until they become a studio.
Right.
I'm just kind of reeling it back, and yeah.
Yeah. So I'll share with you my like strategy going forward. And again, I'm refining it, right? So yeah, I'm not even branding Core Creative as like and it's so sad, guys. Like, look, this is the honest truth. I'll just be real. I don't even have a Core Creative website. And this is the thing. Like I have a hot take on portfolios and finding clients, because to be honest, I mean if you look at all the real big names out there, they don't find clients through portfolios. It's just through referrals and like, word of mouth, referrals that way. Right. And so this is why I think the new resume, the new portfolio is your social media presence. Right. So whether it's Instagram or whatnot, like put that out there, because that's your resume. If you just look at like, if you were to hire people, what do you want to look at? There are always three things, two things. Do I like you? And can you do the work? That's it, right? Like likability and competency. And so competency, you show that in your social media. And then do I like you? That's like your personality on your personal branding. So
I think there's been a bit of debate about that. I think it depends what your situation.
It depends. It depends.
If you're doing client work, that might work. If you're someone who's looking to be hired by an agency, then it really helps to have a portfolio, and the agency's not necessarily looking at your social media. So I think, yeah, use cases and definitely some arguments for both sides of that.
Yeah. And it depends if you're like a beginner or you're a seasoned person, like yourself. You're pretty seasoned, right? And so I think at that point, I think having a strong presence, it just attracts, like at the end of the day, it's like I'm learning all these things about marketing. It's about finding unique ways to attract people and attract clients, because sometimes you may not directly find clients through your website or platforms. But if you, again, this is where like the community effect really helps out, because if you are known in the community, other people can find clients for you, right? If you niche on a certain thing, and let's say, Keith is like, oh yeah, like I have a client for you because you niche on like real estate. So I'm going to you're a friend, I'm just going to pass real estate jobs to you. So there's just different avenues, but look, that's just my take. I'm still learning. So
yeah. And you've been doing this for so long, you don't need a website, I feel like.
Yeah, it's so bad, like, because I'm like we're like the Webflow people, but yeah. So far, to be honest, yeah, like I've gotten clients without a proper website. So bad.
Yeah.
I think you hit that on nail on the head, though. Like I always say, community is a cheat code, because like getting involved with people and like the things you talked about, being authentic, and sometimes some people's social media is just the highlight reel of things like that. And I think people also want to know, to a degree, struggles and things, so that you feel like you're an actual human being, and people want to deal with people. So like that, but that whole idea of community being cheat code, it totally is. You want to, you're new to the community or new to some kind of tool or platform, join the community that
Mhm.
you know you're using it with, because you'll get the help, you'll be able to help others. It's just like it is this whole kind of thing, and it does bring bring opportunity if you're consistent and like with it. That's the other, I think, part of it too, is like people like start and they're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then they post a few times and then they stop and they're like, well, how come nothing happened? And it's like, well, because it takes a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to work at all the skills at the same time, slowly build it all. Like if you are able to do a bit of your own branding, although that's not necessary, but also work on the community, up your skills, and do all of that consistently. Eventually, good things happen.
Yeah.
Well,
The hard parts though, if that stuff, especially if that community side or that sharing of yourself side doesn't come so easily,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a huge proponent of just professional and self-development, and figuring out all that stuff, and even putting yourself out there. Like it was really hard for me to share my story, and even again share about be public with what I believe in, things like that, because you can be scrutinized and all that. But at the end of the day, you just gotta be real, right?
Yeah.
Just gotta be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'll add to that is marketing. I know there's a phrase, people might hate it, but best known beats being the best, right? And so
Uh-huh.
if you you may be the best, but if you aren't putting yourself out there and people don't know you, what's the point, right? It's the same as the whole argument of doing good SEO. Your website could be amazing, but if you don't have good SEO and you're not searchable,
I don't know.
then it's no point. So
Yeah.
I think as designers, we really need I'm leveling up my marketing knowledge, but it's a lot of success and leads come from marketing, and so that's something I think we really need to learn if we're running our own business.
One good wrap-up question, although it is Q&A time, so if anyone has any questions, please drop them in. But just to wrap up my own interview, you did mention you have a lot coming up for 2025. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I'm really doubling down on digital third. I have, so one of the pillars is just consistent content. So I'm going to have interviews on business mindset and branding. And then another pillar on how-tos and demos. So I definitely want to dive in more into Rive, because I haven't had time, but that just seems crazy, Rive and Spline, all that. And then probably have some design breakdowns of world-class websites. So those are kind of three pillars. So that's kind of hopefully a weekly thing or something. I'm still figuring out how I can fit that in. And then every quarter, I want to do these playful design games and tournaments. So the Squid Games will probably be the next. And then I want to be just collaborating with other design partners. More on that later. But I have a collaboration. And then I'm considering hosting an immersive 3 to 5 day creative business retreat. I was inspired by the fishing trip with Chris. It was just so awesome to spend 5 days dedicated, and you're out in nature. So I'm thinking of Bali or Thailand or Malaysia, somewhere in Southeast Asia, to do that. So if you guys are interested, reach out to me.
We'd love to. I don't know that I have the money for it, but
Yeah. Need a few more client projects first.
Yeah. Surprisingly, once you're there, though, it's really cheap, and that's why I'm considering that. Yeah.
Right. Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to, and then I just need to build a team to make it all happen, because I think that's the thing, is can't do it by ourselves, right? I only have so many hours, so building a good team to make it happen.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we've got a question from Patrick, which has nothing to do with community. This is all about which devices you use for your stream setup.
Oh yeah.
Which ones do I need to buy? I love it.
I have a Rodecaster Pro. This is a Logitech. What is it called? It's a Sona. And then I have a Stream Deck to push all my buttons. I have an ultra wide screen. Yeah, I have a lot. I can post it on Twitter. I've collected over the years.
Excellent. Excellent. And when are you joining us on Blue Sky?
Oh, I don't know. I'm never
you-
really heard of it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, all right.
Is it
Well,
like it's a social platform?
it's
Yeah,
a social it's
Okay.
Yeah.
it's the one that's been taking off
Okay.
lately. Yeah. Yeah, it is lots of fun, and it's a little less opinionated perhaps in some
Oh,
ways.
it's like a Twitter.
It's like a Twitter, but
Okay.
more pleasant.
less political.
So
Okay.
come join us over there.
I'll check it out.
All right, excellent. Josh, how can people find you online? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, like I need to update everything. The Digital Third. Yeah, exactly. At the Josh Lowe. That's probably the best way to find me on Twitter, X. And then yeah, we can start chatting.
Excellent.
Oh, and the YouTube channel. Just
Right.
search the Digital Third on YouTube. I'll be pumping out more content there.
Excellent. Wonderful. So that brings us to the end of our 21st Northern Showcase 21, you guys. This is also the end of our 3rd year of building our community online, and we're planning lots of great events for 2025. We'd like to thank you all for joining us and remind you to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And you can join us in the lodge for in-person upcoming events. December 6th, we have Penny Card e-commerce and Webflow workshop. And December 13th, we have the holiday networking in the lodge.
And on December 20th, we have our last lodge hangout of the year. Everybody is welcome at a lodge hangout. You don't need to be Canadian, and we're all really nice. So visit our website at noconorth.com and sign up for our mailing list to receive all of our latest updates. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and now Blue Sky. Join us on Fridays in the lodge, our cool gather space. And until next time, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.